You guys asked me to talk about it. Does anyone remember that? Hi, I'm T1J.
Follow me.
So, Milo Yiannopoulos. He's this guy who's managed to keep himself in the news and talk his way into essentially becoming a conservative thought leader, at least on the internet, in spite of the fact that he's a self-acknowledged troll. And we've talked about trolls before and how their only purpose is to get a reaction and how ignoring them is generally a decent strategy. But as it's been pointed out by several people, including me and most recently Bill Maher,
you are so, let's say, helped by the fact that liberals just always take the bait.
And this at least applies to American progressives. I read an article recently that suggested that Milo intentionally targets American audiences because they're more sensitive, and that what he does would not work nearly as well in a place like the UK. But I mean, we have a guy that's clearly going out of his way to be shocking and offensive. Like almost every single idea that modern progressives find offensive has been said by this dude. I mean, to me, when he speaks, it sounds almost like a rehearsed act, because it probably is.
Because all of these like quote-unquote rape stories from campuses that don't actually involve any sex, of course, the ones that do involve sex rape stories are all frauds and hoaxes.
Like, I feel like that line was clearly written in advance. Now, the guy is clearly an intelligent person, and it's kind of sad that he rarely uses that intellect to say anything useful. The only interesting thing that Milo makes me think about is the limits of free speech and no platforming. In my Nazi punching video, I argue that no platforming is usually misused and should be reserved for the most unacceptable ideas like fascism and white supremacy. And of course, many people use both of those terms to describe Milo's ideology. But the way I see it, there's an important distinction between people who are playing by the rules and people who aren't. And perhaps that's the genius of someone like Milo Yiannopoulos, because essentially he's playing by the rules. Yeah, he's an asshole, but he wants you to think that he knows what he's talking about. He makes arguments and then he supports those arguments with facts?
Well, they are disproportionately involved in those kinds of crimes.
They're what?
Vastly disproportionately involved in sex crime.
Who is?
Yes!
But the thing about it is, even though he's playing by the rules, he's playing poorly. If political discourse was paper, rock, scissors, he's the guy that's playing rock every time, no matter what. And this means that he should be easily defeated, but he's so good at pissing people off that it distracts us from the fact that most of his arguments are complete nonsense. And we've seen this before. This is the same strategy that people like Ann Coulter became notorious for. This is in contrast to someone like Richard Spencer, who was openly and unashamedly sympathetic to one of the most grotesque and violent ideologies that humanity has ever invented. Like, there's no arguing with that. That's the equivalent of playing paper, rock, scissors and then throwing out machine gun. At that point, you're just not playing by the rules, and if that's what you want to do, then you just don't get to play. So I don't really see the point in no platforming someone like Milo Yiannopoulos, and I certainly don't support violent riots. Like, holy shit, get a grip, guys. Trust me, this person is not worth all of that. He is a troll. And can we stop calling him a provocateur? He's a fucking internet troll cut from the 4chan cloth. So I say let him talk, especially if we're talking about debates and discussions with other smart people. Because it seems to me that every time that happens, he basically gets made a fool of. Because he thrives off of being offensive, not being reasonable. His actual arguments are intellectually weak.
Because your moves are weak, babe, okay? Yeah, your moves are weak.
And this is the same thing that happened to Ann Coulter. She kept trying to debate people and kept getting destroyed. And now pretty much no one takes her seriously except the extreme right. Now there are situations where I think that people let Milo get away with nonsense, such as the Bill Maher clip I just showed where he makes a patently and provably dishonest claim about the involvement of trans people in sex crimes. And that was kind of glossed over on the show, and it definitely shouldn't have been because it's completely fucking wrong. Unless by involved he meant as the victim, which he might have because he's a fucking troll. But again, all you have to do is throw out paper. It beats rock every time. So the big news recently is that Milo has had somewhat of a fall from grace. After some videos resurface in which he seems to condone, if not support, sexual relationships between adults and children. After this, he was disinvited from speaking at a conservative event, had his book deal canceled, and resigned from his position at Breitbart. And just like with PewDiePie or anyone else, these are the risks you take when you decide to be controversial. I don't think we should praise or condemn organizations that break ties with controversial figures. These are decisions made for purely PR or money reasons. What's most interesting about this situation has been summed up by Lori Penny in a brilliant article that you should read, link below. Here's an excerpt. If Yiannopoulos is as screwed as he seems, the left has little to celebrate in the manner of the defeat. He has been brought down, after all, by the one weapon we don't want to give power to. He has been brought down not by reasoned liberal argument, nor by moral victory over his cod theories, nor by anti-fascist agitation. He has been brought down by conservative moral outrage. And this says something about the conservative establishment, that they were seemingly okay with all of the racist, sexist, transphobic, and inexplicably homophobic things Milo has had to say, but an alleged lukewarm endorsement of child molestation, which in my opinion was kind of tame compared to some of the outright hateful shit he said about women and trans people, that's where conservatives draw the line. It's pretty disappointing. But it also seems to illuminate the nature of the relationship between the mainstream right and the so-called alt-right. They're willing to tolerate and even support people like Yiannopoulos as far as and up to the point until it stops benefiting them. Truly diabolical if you ask me. It seems unlikely that the conservative establishment will welcome Milo back anytime soon, which is a huge hit to his credibility and his support system. But as long as cynical teenagers on the internet exist, and as long as the left continues to be so easy to troll, it's hard to imagine that Milo won't find a way to keep himself in the news. That's just me though. What do you think? Thank you for watching my video. Many people have asked me to bring back the That's Just Me Though shirt. So I did. They will be available for 20 days, which means you have until March 16th to get one. Check them out at teespring.com/DJMD. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more video discussions about social issues, current events, and pop culture. If you'd like to say hi, ask a question, or leave feedback, feel free to email me at hello@theonejanitor.com. And if you find any value in my videos, or if you just want to support me, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. And remember, be honest, be assertive, be kind, and be open-minded. Stay Heiko.